Okay, we're up to the Daf Nun Ches. We're up to Daf Nun Ches, and we're up to the last line on Nun Zayin Amud Beis. The last line is on Beis, describing the destruction of Beitar. We saw yesterday. We went through the historical Beitar. It's interesting. I spoke today to Swilly Bornstein. I told him I made the contrast between the Churban Bayis Rishon, Churban Bayis Sheni, because you have a different perspective, right? Like the Churban Bayis Rishon, there was no one there, and the Churban Bayis Sheni, they still were there. You know, that was just the perspective of how to explain the events that occurred afterwards. Anyway, so we're describing the discussion of Beitar. Amar Rabbi Baruch Chana of Yochanan Arboim Sa'a Kitzutzei Tfilin Nimsu Berashi Haruge Beitar. There were 40 Sa of Kitzutzei Tfilin. Rashi says Tfilin Shel Roish, guys. Tfilin Shel Roish. Nimsu Berashi Haruge Beitar. You said Tfilin found on the heads of Haruge Beitar. Rabbi Yanai, Rabbi Yishmael Omer, Shloisha Kupois Shel Aboyim V'Aboyim Sa. It was 3 boxes of 40 Sa. In other words, it wasn't 40 Sa, but it's 120. V'Mestis Santana, Arboyim Kupois 40 boxes Shel Shalosh of 3 Sa in a piece. So in other words, we have 3 opinions, and 2 of them are the same amount in terms of numbers. The first one is there was 40, and the latitude it was 120. You got there either because it was 40 times 3, right? Or it was what? It was 3 times 40, whichever way. One is speaking about the tefillin of the Rosh, and one is speaking about the tefillin Shel Yad. Says Rashi, the Dara'a, Memsa. The box that said Memsa is speaking about the tefillin Shel Yad. Uderesha shehem gedolim dalid batim b'chol katzitza havigilul zimni Memsa. Right, so it's much larger. The tefillin Shel Rosh, because you have the boxes, so it's 4 times 3 as opposed to the top one. Okay, so that's Rashi's teretz. So guys, we had, look at me, 40 and 120. Says Rashi, the 40 is speaking about the tefillin Shel Yad, and the 120 is speaking about tefillin Shel Rosh, because it's 3 times larger. The Gemara said, "Ketzutzei tefillin nimsu b'roshei haruge beitar," and Rashi's saying that's speaking about the tefillin of what of the Yad, but it says it was found on roshei beit. Smash was on the head, guys, right? The top line of the Gemara. Yeah, Smash they found it on the head, correct? So what do you mean? So that could be tefillin Shel Yad. So the Eitz Yosef is the side of the Ein Yaakov. He brings from Rabbi Kivega, guys. Let's do a leadership shot from Rabbi Kivega. If you're putting on your tefillin, when you have the Shel Yad is on, Shel Rosh is not on, right? When you put it on first. Then you put on the Rosh and the Shel Yad simultaneously. And then you have, when you take off the Shel Rosh, you have Shel Yad. So there's 3 possibilities of the Shel Yad with only 1 possibility of the Shel Rosh. Memela, when they came in, at the time they came in and attacked, right? At that time, you had people putting on the tefillin, people who had the tefillin on, and people would take it, the late minion, the earlier minion, and they took off the Shel Yad, the Shel Rosh, they didn't take off the Shel Yad. Says Rashi, the Shel Rosh was 40, because there's only 1 hechatimsa. Masha'en came the Shel Yad, you had 3 hechatimsas, and the Mela was what? It was 120. A leadership shot from Rabbi Kivega. Excuse me?
Well, weren't they wearing the tefillin the whole day?
Again, maybe they were going to the bathroom. Perhaps they were taking it off. In other words, it's not so pashut. It could be. Now there's a daya. There's a very interesting daya. Who did it said? There's a daya that finds fault with them. The day that finds fault with them. What's the fault? Is that on when was Beitar destroyed? What day? Tisha B'av. We saw yesterday the Rambam. On Tisha B'av, you wear tefillin? So they were not misabel enough because they were wearing tefillin on Tisha B'av. When you shouldn't be, they should be wearing ephah, right? So the fact that they came in, and this is said l'genai the Gemara over here. The fact that from the Haruge Beitar on Tes B'av, they removed tefillin from their heads is said in a derogatory way. That's another thing I saw. Okay, so again, it says that the guys have a tendency they wore it the whole day. I'm not sure. Again, it could be that they were at the time they were wearing it, but it could be they caught them. I don't understand the kasha. They caught them with the tefillin, but it was at a time when they were putting it on. So some put on, some put off, and some took it off, right? So it could be they when they ate, they didn't wear it. I don't know if they wore it every single second. It could be that they take it off. So I'm not exactly sure. And this is the shot that I saw.
For 20 minutes.
I would worry about your Elam Haba.
Pizza said there.
Ravasi, Abo Kavim Moyach. This is speaking about the Bayis Rishon. Abo Kavim Moyach, 4 Kavim of Moyach, his brains. Nimsu 11 Achas. They found on 1 stone. It was Radin. Ula Amar Tisha Kavim 9. Amrav Kahana Vitem Shila Bar Mari Mikra Bas Bobel Hashaduda Asher Shalim Lach. So you see Bas Bobel. So that's how you know it's speaking about the Bayis Rishon. That's how you know it's speaking about what? About the Bayis Rishon. Asher Yoches Venifet says Elolayach Elasela. They went and they banged the Elolayach, the children Elasela by the stone, and then they'll get paid back. They get their payback. Okay, let's go to the stream. The pasuk says, "B'nei Tzion haYikorim hamusuloyim bapaz," literally covered in puz. My musuloyim bapaz, ilaim medahavi mechafe bit pisa, that the people of B'nei Tzion, the people in Eretz Yisrael, they were covered with pisa. But it seems to be a very, 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 very special ornaments, very special metal. Rabbi Shila Tarti Maskali is 3 pisa nochas ba'olma. 2 measures of the story of Pisa came down to this world. One is in Rome, and the one is the rest of the world. So it's difficult to think that B'nai Tzion, they were all covered with this puz. Ella, shahayu miganim es hapuz biyofya. B'nai Tzion, the children of Tzion hayakarim amasulolim bapuz. You know what that means? That they made puz look dirty. They made ganai. In other words, they were so handsome, as we're going to see in a second. They made puz, which is such a precious, beautiful thing. They're going to make it look not so nice. May Korach Hashivi the Roimi having the Kidi Bilyoni the Gushmanka, Umishamshi Arsayu. Initially, the people in Rome, the Hashivi of Rome, when they would have relations, they would have a signet ring with some type of figure looking at it, and that would influence the child. But the child, we saw in the Gos Gemara is that the child is influenced Pshas Tashmish about what you see. That's why by Shimshon they brought, we saw Pshat, that's by the sheep, by Yaakov. The Elach, become the Elach. Once they captured these B'nai Tzion, Maisi B'nai Yisrael, the Asri B'kari the Parayu, they would bring B'nai Yisrael and they would tie him to their bedpost. When Mishamshe, in front of them, they have Tashmish that the children should look like these beautiful people. Amlechad l'chavre. One person, one of these boys, said to the other one, again, you have these beautiful children, B'nai Tzion, and can you imagine a horrible thing that you have to experience? And he wanted to know, where in the Teichacha, where in the Teichacha, who state us? Where in the Teichacha, where does it say such a thing in the Teichacha? Ha'ika ksiva, he wanted to know, where in the Teichacha is it written? So Amalei, so the other boy said to him, Gam kol choli v'chol makah shali kosa b'sefer Torah zois. Any sickness or smiting that was not found in the Sefer. Amar, the boy who asked the question said, Kama merachitna miduchte plan. How far am I away from this place? That in other words, I didn't learn this pasuk, right? Amalei, he said, Ingag, a little bit, pusto palga, your mamish an amin and a half away. Amalei, if I would have reached it, I wouldn't need to ask you. So in other words, the state of the this incident also. Amar Vida Mishmuel, Mishum Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, my dechsiv, Eini oilala linavshi, mikol benois iri. Eini oilala linavshi, mikol benois iri. Arba meos, but the knisios hoya bekrach Beitar, 400 shuls were in the city of Beitar. Ubechol achas v'achas hoya ba arba meos malamid tenoikis, there were 400 malamid tenoikis. Kol echad v'achad hoya l'fon of arba meos tenoikis. Each man had 400 tenoikis in front of them. The Gemara, the Achronim have a problem with this. The Gemara in Chaf Aleph in Baba Basra says you're not supposed to teach more than 25 kids. So base Rabin, because hoya oyev nichnis l'sham. And when the Oyev came in there, The kids, the Talmidim, they were hitting them with sticks. Because and when the enemy took hold of them, captured them, went ahead and took Sifrei Torah and tied them up. Went ahead and unbelievable in the 3 weeks, unbelievable, and lit them up. Meister Rabbi Yeshua ben Chananya, Shalach lekrach gadol sheberoimi, Amru lo tinek echad, yesh bebeis asurim yafa einayim, b'toiv roi, in prison, there's a beautiful child, v'futzas sudurim lo taltalim, and his hair is arranged beautifully. Halach v'amen al Pesach beis asurim, Rabbi Yeshua ben Chananya went to the opening of the prison, and Amar, and he said the following. He said, Mi nosan lemishisa Yaakov, Yisrael levoisism. He said this pasuk, right? That now, what did the boy answer? The boy answered, Halay Hashem zu chatanu loy v'loy avu b'drachav haloich v'loy shomim b'teirasai. So guys, basically, the child in prison just repeated the end of the pasuk. It's a pasuk in Yeshayim and Beis. Here's the pasuk. And this is first Rabbi Yeshua said, Minasna Meshisa Yaakov Yisrael levoisim. And now the Tinek retorted, he answered back, Halei Hashem zuchatanu loy v'layavu b'drachav halach v'loy shomim b'teirasai. So he answered in the pasuk. So the question says the Gemara Vaita. Amar said Rabbi Yeshua ben Chananya, Muftachim by, I'm assured, Shemayra Hayrab Yisrael. Right? I'm sure that this child is going to be a Paisik. Ha'avoida. He makes a Lashon Shvua. She'eni zaz mikan. I won't leave here. Until I'm paid to him for all the money that they stated for him. So they said, Yisrael, Umanu is Rabbi Yeshua ben Elisha, Rabbi Yishmael ben Elisha. It was Rabbi Yishmael ben Elisha. So a few hours, guys. First of all, we saw Gemara earlier. You're not supposed to go ahead and be paid captive more than it's worth, because it's just go incentivize what the going to collect more. So we saw Taisus there, and Taisus here says the same thing. If it's for someone who is a Talmid Chacham, then you could. And the expenditure is good. The question over here is the following: what's the big chachma that this child, what's the big chachma? I mean, for any one of us to complete a pasuk in Yeshaya, for any of us to know a pasuk in Yeshaya would be a chiddush, right? So, but in those days, they were experts. In other words, what? If someone, Asher Yisher Yisech, and you go, Oya Sela. In other words, can you imagine someone says Asher, where's the big chachma over here? Where's the big chachma? That's the question. Where's the big chachma over here that they found? Right, you hear the kasha. Let's come out, look at kasha. What chachma did he find over here that was so uniquely special? So the Brisker Rav says beautifully, guys. Listen, the Brisker Rav said beautifully. If I ask you what caused the churban bias, so you would say kamsa bar kamsa, you'd say sinas chinam, you'd say all this bunch of sibas that caused it. You all bunch of simanim. But the bottom line is chatanu. The bottom line is, it's not because of kamsa bar kamsa. It's not because of any maisa. It's because we sin to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This child realized that. That was his chachma. Why did he answer in the pasuk? He said, why did he answer in the pasuk? He says that Halay Hashem zu chatanu. We sin to HaKadosh Baruch Hu v'lo b'drachav. So this young child realized that, and a child at a young age can realize that. He's a chacham, and nothing. It ended up being Rabbi Yishmael ben. Now be aware, when you think of Rabbi Yishmael ben Elisha, what do you think of? You think of the song Tanya, which is a Gemara in Brachas that spoke about a Kohen Gadol going where? Lifnai Lifnim. When L'chara did this story happen, guys? The story L'chara happened after the Churban Bias, right? So you have to say it was what? It was different Rabbi Yishmael ben Elisha. You have to say there was a different Rabbi Yishmael ben Elisha. Okay, Mech, we're up to Nun Ches Amid Aleph. Nun Ches Amid Aleph. We're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But when the lines get wide, we're 5 lines down. Or 4 lines down. Nun Ches Amid Aleph, we're 4 lines down. Amrav Yehud Amarav. Maisa bibino ubibitoi shel Rabbi Yishmael ben Elisha. Shenishbu l'shnei adonim. They were captured. They were captured by two masters. Liyomim nisdavgu shneim b'makom echad. They ended up being coming to the same place. Zo'ima yeshli evet she'ein yafyav ba'olam. I have an evet. There's no one beautiful in the whole world. Zo'imer yeshli shivcha. I have a female. She'ein b'chol olam kula ki yafyaha. Omrim. Let's marry them one off to the other. And we'll go ahead and we'll divide their offspring. Each one sat in a corner. The boy said, I need Koyin ben Kahanim Gedolim. I'm a Koyin, the son of Kahanim Gedolim. Esa Shivcha, Isa Shivcha, I should marry a Shivcha. So I say marriage, and the woman said, I need Kohenes Bas Kahanim Gedolim. And Nasi Le'eved. And they cried the whole night. Since the morning star came up, they recognized each other. They mamish hugged each other, they fell on each other. They go and they began crying until the neshama left. And they was like to the famous kina of what? Of Al Eila Ani Bachia, Eini Yardu Maya. Right? Eini Aiden Yardu Maya. So now, what's the Zushelter? Where do you see in here, guys? Where do you see in here the fact that it was brother and sister? Al Elav Ani Bachia Eini Yardu Maya. So Rav Chaim Kanievsky, Zeichet Tzadik Kodesh Levrachas, Chos Yagan Aleinu, quoted a Gemara in Daf Nun Vav Amid Beis in Masech Brachas. The Gemara is, guys, in Masech Brachas describing dreams, what you see in dreams, right? You see a bunch of things in dreams. And the Tzedaki, this Kuti, he said to Rava, he said, in my dream, I saw my eyes were connected to each other. That's what he said. So Rava told him, you will boil your sister. You will mizana with your sister. So you see eyes are what? A daima, boy and girl. So therefore, that's Pshat over here. Gorgeous. Halel mivachia. Eini yordu mayim, right? Eini is meramis to what? To a brother and a sister. Beautiful, beautiful Pshat. Now I have written over here from, I saw Rav Frian brought down from Marami Pano in the Sefer Asar Mamoros that Marami Pano was, guys, he wrote a Sefer called Sefer Gilgulim. He would tell you the Gilgulim of everybody. Okay. It's good to get up for this. He would tell you. Listen to this. What he said. He said this brother and sister were the Gilgulim of Amnon and Tamar. We know that David Amelech had a daughter Tamar from an Esha Sifas Tayar, and he had a son Amnon. It was his Bechar, and Amnon was Ma'anis Tamar. Amnon forced himself on Tamar. This boy and girl, they were the Gilgulim of Amnon and Tamar. And they were mechaper for that aveir by refraining from having marital relations. So they were. That's Maran Pano says beautifully that this is the Valdik. It's amazing when I hear these Gilgulm stuff. I'm always spoiled, you know. Like you can't make this stuff up. Anyway, Amar Reish Lakish. Ma'isa b'isha achas. It's Safnas Bas Peniel Shema. Her name was Safnas Bas Peniel, right? Safnas, why was she called Safnas? She had called Saifin, everyone would look at her beauty. Bas Peniel, Bitel Shel Kohen Gadol, she was the daughter of a Kohen Gadol. Sheshimesh Lufnai Lufnim. So Peniel, Panukeli, remember she went inside. Kach Gadashim. So now what happened with this woman? She was violated a whole night by what? A bunch of Goyish captives. Lamacha, the next day, Hilbisha Shiva Chalukim, they put on her 7 robes. But they took her out to the slave market. After they abused her, they took her to the slave market to be sold. Came along a man to bid on her, and he was exceedingly ugly. Amaloi, show me her beauty. Amaloi Reika, if you want her, fine, but if not, if you know one more beautiful than her. Amaloi, Afa Pikain, nonetheless, I'm not bidding on her. So if Shita Shisha Chalakim, he took off 6 of the robes. The Shvi, when it got to the 7th, Karasa, she ripped it open. But it's Pashla be'efren, she was rolling around in the schmutz. Lefan of Rabbi Shleilam. Imalenu lechasata, akadusha shemecha hagibor lama loisachos. If on us you don't have Rahmanis, but your name. But Allah koinen yirmiyah bas ami chigre sak, right? V'hispashli ba'efer, right? Bas ami, the daughter of my nations, girded in sackcloth. V'hispalshti ba'efer. Evil. mourning as if only able yachid, right? Asilach mispaid timrudim, make a bitter hesped. He pissed some yavay hashoyded aleinu, and says the shoyded, the plunderer came aleinu. Alech alein namar, doesn't say you. El aleinu kaviyachol alayva alecha, on me and you. So in other words, l'chari shev rachmanis, because of your kiddush Hashem. Bashoyded amar review v'alecha bashoyded. Excuse me, v'alecha bashoyded. Amar review namarav. Ma'idich siv. The pasuk says, "Va'ashku gever ubeisai v'ish v'nachlasai," that they go ahead and they oppress a man in his house, and right. What does that mean? What's it referring to? Ma'isabad mechad shenasan einav b'ishas rabbi. He looked at his master's wife. V'shulei dinagri habe. He was an apprentice to a carpenter. So this apprentice had his eyes on the carpenter's wife. Pamachas hutzrich l'vois, the master carpenter needed to borrow money. Amalai, so the apprentice told him, Shagar ishtecha etzli, send your wife to me, ve'alvena, and I'll loan it to her, and she'll bring it back to you. Shiga ishle etzli, and shoy much yamim, and he was mizana with her for 3 days. Kadam ba etzli, and the master came to the apprentice, and Amalai Ishti, Sheshigati Lach Heicheni, where's my wife that I sent you? Amalai, Ani Patricia Alter, I let her go right away. However, Vishamati Shatinaikis and so I heard she was violated by some Tinaikis, Bederach. Amalai Ma'asa, so this carpenter said, what should I do? Amalai told him, Amata Shamele Tsasi Garsha Divorsa. Amalai said, Ksubasa Merubani, she got a big suba. So I'm like, don't worry about it. I'll lend you the money to pay off the ksuba. The tenlik ksubasa. Amad zev gersha. So he stood up. He divorced her. Halachuv v'nasa. She went and she married the apprentice. Time came for the master to pay up the apprentice, and he didn't have the money. Amalois, the apprentice told him, go ahead, come and work it off in my house. You work for me, and you work off the chayv. So the apprentice and the master's ex-wife would sit and eat and drink. And he would serve them. The tears were falling from his eyes. The noifleis b'kaiseyim and falling the kais. Those tears, nechtam gezardin. That was the gezardin. That was the right. Then we love to say that the apprentice and the woman of this nus. That was the reason. That was the cause. So it seems that the Mashah says this was a known incident, and no one was Meicha. Mashah says it was like a known incident, and no one was Meicha. That's why he wasn't. That's what kasher is. So you have one guy who's a low life and does something. This, like, how's it show about the whole generation? Because it was well known Maisa, and I still remember this Maisa. It was horrible Maisa. And again, you get a whole bunch of a picture of in the 3 weeks why the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed. And what we have to overcome, it's very, very, very difficult. Okay, anyway, guys, fun time is over. Back to Gemara. Okay, let's go back in time. Sikrikin, what's Sikrikin? Sikrikin are these murderers, these Goyish murderers that would take land. They would take land away from a person, and they would not give them any money. Then they would go ahead and they would sell it, and they would sell it for, we'll see in tomorrow's Gemara. They would sell it cheaper. You get a discount. Okay, so we saw what was the original din of the Sikrikin. The original din of the Sikrikin is that if you first went to the Balabas to buy the land from him, right, and he said no problem, and he makes a kinyan, and then you go to the Sikrik and pay for the Sikrik. Then the guy's really not selling it because he's only scared of the Sikrik. However, if he went to the Sikrik first and then went to the other guy, it will be okay. They went ahead and they changed the law. What was the law? That if you buy from the Sikrik, it would remain in the Sikrik's hands for 12 months, right? And then you'd sell it, then you would get first dibs. And if not, you'd go to the one who bought it would give you a quarter because that's what he's saving. You give a 3/4 of the money to the Sikrik and you give a quarter to them. So the Gemara is saying, we said, Lacha Misakrik, the Mechel is bottle. The Mekach is bottle. Why? Because the guy really didn't want to sell it to the Sikrik, right? He didn't want to sell it to him. He's scared of him. So Amar Rav, says Rav, Loi Shanu, Ela Da'im Eloi, Lei Chazik Kni. We did not learn that the Mekach is bottle, if only that the original owner that the Sikrik took it from said to the one who bought it from the Sikrik, Lei Chazik Kni. In other words, guys, what's the pecking order? First you go to the person, then the Sikrik, then the Mekach is bottle, right? First you go to if you go to the Sikrik first and then go to the person, the Mekach is bottle. So that's only if the guy told you Lech Chazik Kni, go be kind. No, it's just Diba Ba'alma. Then the Mekach is bottle. Aval Bishtar, but if he troubled himself to write a star in the Mechira, then Kaina. Rav says you Kaina. If he troubled himself to write a star in the Mechira, you Kaina. Good? So in other words, the Sikrik, you bought it from the Sikrik, you went to the owner said, wrote a star that it's yours, it's yours. Ushmul Amar Af Bishtar Nami Loi Kaina. Star is the same thing as Lei Chazik Gini, you also not Kaina. At Sheyichta Lei Achrayas. You'd have to write in, the guy would have to write in Achrayas that if it's taken from him, he'll make it up. So in other words, if this person writes Bishtar B'Achrayas, that'll make it up, then what? Then it's Tanya Kavasi Amid Beis. Tanya Kavasi the Shmuel. We have a Baisa that's a raya to Shmuel that you need Achrayas. Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar Aimer, Lakach Mina Isha. We said first if you buy from the woman, because of Lakach Mina Ish, Mechra Kayim. However, Mina Ish, first you buy from the man, because of Lakach Mina Isha, Mechra Batal. Because the wife doesn't want to get on her husband's bad side the same way that the person didn't want to get on the Sikrik's bad side. And then it's Batal, At Shetichtav Lo Achrayas. Mashma that what? That Achrayas, if you write Achrayas, then what? Then the deal goes through. So going first to the husband, then the Isha is the same thing as first going to the Sikrik and going to the person. And nonetheless, it says Ba'achrayas like Shmuel and not Rav. Name it Avitiyuf to the Rav. Let's say this is a upshlag on Rav who said a star alone is enough to keep the Mekach intact. You don't need Achrayas. Rav, no, my Achrayas, nami a star. When it says over here Achrayas, it means just a star. It doesn't mean that you have to be tired. It means the star itself. Rashi says, top line left, star. And not that he's going in other words, what does writing the star do? It makes sure that you can have charata on the deal, that the deal goes through. So when it says over here star achrayas, it doesn't mean what? It doesn't mean achrayas that if it's taken away, you can collect from the shubadim. What it means is that the achrayas that the deal goes through, because I told myself to write a star. And therefore, now guys, there's a halacha of cheskas sholosh shanim, that if you're in a person's land for 3 years, the guy shows up after 3 years and goes, "What are you doing on my land?" You say, "I bought it from you. I bought it from you. You gave it to me as a matana." You say, "Where's your star?" You go, "I lost it." The halacha is that since he didn't open up his mouth for 3 years, and you have a taina, it's yours. Now, you're squatting on a land, you're there for 3 years, the guy shows up and says, "What are you doing on my land?" And you say, "No one said anything to me," then you're off. You have to have a taina. How did it come into your rishus? How did you get it? Did you get it through a mechira? Did you get it through a matana? But stamazla, you can't just go ahead right in and squat on the land. So it has to be chazaka sheyesh ima taina. Good. With that in mind. Tanabana. Lokach min hasikrikun. You went ahead and you bought the land from the sikrikun. V'achla shalosh shanim. And the guy who bought it ate there 3 years. B'fnei bailim. So Ruvain owns the land. Shimon bought it from the Sikrik, who took it from Ruvain. V'chazu machra la'acher. Shimon now sends it to Levi. Ein lebailim alokeach sheni klum. Ruvain has no claim, right, of a quarter of the price from Levi. Oh, guys, again, the final din, that if the Sikrik was on there for 12 months, and then he sells it to you, all you have to do is give the owner a quarter, because that's the market price. 3/4 went to the Sikrik. You saved the quarter by buying it from him. You bought it stolen goods. You saved the quarter of the price. Give that quarter of the price to the original owner, and you're good. So what happened over here? What's the judgment over here? Let's go through the case. Ruvain's land was taken away by the Sikrik. Shimon buys from the Sikrik. He gives him 3/4 of the price. Right? He gives 3/4 of the price. Then he sells it to Levi. Ruvain can't come to Levi and say, "Give me my quarter." Now the question is that we all have to ask: didn't he get the quarter from Shimon when Shimon bought the land? Good. So it says the Gemara. Read the Marakash. Hechidami. Ida katayin v'amar minoch savna. If Levi says, right, that Shimon gave you Ruvain the money, gave you the quarter, afilo rishanami. Why do you have to give a convoluted case where it was a second mechira? You could have told me the chiddush with one case. What's the one case? Just like the Rishon gave you the money, it stays by him. So too over here. In other words, you would not have to go ahead and state the case where he went ahead and was on a shani chazaka, and then he gave it to a second person. You would have to say that, right? Rishanami, guys. Is Shimon, guys, look at me. What's the case? That Shani can't say to Ruvain, right? Ruvain has no claim of 1/4 of the price from Levi, the second one. Good. The first one is Shimon, yeah? Shimon was on this land for 3 years. Yes. Did Ruvain say anything? No. So now, if Shimon would have told Ruvain, if it's speaking where Shimon gave the money to Ruvain, the quarter, why would you have to introduce Levi at all? Just tell me, here's the din. He's believed, it's a chazaka, sheyesh imataina, I bought it from you, you didn't say anything for 3 years, right? And so why did you have to introduce Levi? What's that adding to the case? Guys, that's the kasha. So Mamanusha, what's the case over here? Again, the case is that Ruvain can't make a claim from Levi. Fred the Gemara Hekidami. Either Katayin, if Levi's tining V'amar Minach Savna, that Shimon bought it from you, Ruvain, he gave you money, Afila Rishanami. Even Shimon himself would be believed, since he has Shani Chazaka. Either like Katayin V'amar Minach Savna, and if Shimon does not, and if if you can't say that Shimon gave the money to Ruvain, afilu Shimon nami loy, right? Even the second one also is not part from paying. You should have to pay. He should have to pay to the original owner. So, guys, remember, here's the kasha. We have a case over here, 3 people. Ruvain lost his field to a Sikrik. Shimon bought it from the Sikrik. Levi bought it from Shimon. We know somewhere along the line there had to be a quarter of the value of the field paid to Ruvain, correct? Say, that's the bobblehead. Yeah, good. That's the given. Good. Now, says the Mechadesh, the Brisa, that Ruvain cannot have a taina on Levi for that money. So the Gemara wants to know the following. If it's speaking where Shimon said, I paid already, why do you need Levi in the picture at all? Why? Shimon was on the land for 3 years. Ruvain didn't say anything, and he's saying that what I don't have to produce a star. I gave you the money, believed. So why are you bringing Levi? If Ruvain says I didn't give, if Ruvain was, no one said Ruvain didn't give the money, then in fact Levi would have to give the money to if Shimon didn't give the money the quarter, then Levi would have to give it. So what's the case that what's the case that he's potter? If he's potter completely, because there's a taina, we don't need him at all. And if he's not potter complete, and there's no taina, then he's not potter. That's the Gemara's kasha. Because then you have a chazaka sheni mataina. Amr of Sheishes la'olam d'loy katoyim le. La'olam, he doesn't make that claim. Levi does not say that Ruvain paid up. However, in this instance, we will go ahead, and make a claim. We'll make a claim for Levi. We'll see why Rashi in a second. The idach, however, for Shimon, itayin in, v'lo itayin loy. If Shimon makes a taina yes, and taina not. So that's the chiddush of the case, guys. That's the chiddush of the case. Okay. So we are going to go ahead. Shimon doesn't say anything. You know what we told, and you know what we told Ruvain? We say Shimon says that Levi says Shimon said he paid you up. We'll make this claim that he paid you. Why would we tie him? Let's see Rashi. Rashi. Someone who buys a field from this extortionist, and he goes ahead and he bequeaths it to his sons, and he eats there for 3 years. Or he sells it to someone else, and he eats there for 3 years. And Reuben comes along to take it away. They don't know to make a claim. That their father made a kinyan from you. Bezdin will make that claim. Here we are. Why? The stam man the zalim mistikrikun made the yada leishadi zuzi bichtei lekeach im loyalpi bailim. Stam izoi. If a person buys a field from Sikrikin, he knows that he's not going to throw his money away if he didn't go away hevat. Right? Bichtei lekeach im loyalpi bailim. So in other words, you can guarantee that this person who's going to buy the field of Sikrikin is going to go ahead and pay up that quarter because he's not throwing his money away. But the idach, the other person, the original guy, then we don't make that claim. Okay, so that's the chiddush of the Gemara. Let's just outside. Okay, guys, outside. So you have the outside. Here's the case. You have a sikrik takes Reuben's field away. He sells it to Shimon. Shimon sells it to Levi. Right? Levi doesn't know what to claim that Reuben paid up the money and Shimon paid up the money to Reuben or not. In that case, we'll make the claim that he did. He was there for 3 years. He didn't open his mouth. There's no way he's going to let the field go for nothing from the sikrik. We'll make the taina for Levi, and that's the chiddush of the Gemara. That's the chiddush. Okay, weiter. Tan Rabbana. Habo machmes choy v'machmes an paros. Let's say the guy is not a sikrik, but he is owed money, and he goes ahead and he takes away the house. He takes away the house. Don't you come home? You find the marshals went ahead. They chained up your house, and it's not yours anymore. It's taken away. Loyalenu. And who is it? It belongs to the guy that you owe the money to. Umachmas amparoy. So Stam, a guy stole your house, but he's not a killer. He stole your house, but he's not a killer. Ein boy mishum sikrikin. You don't have the din of sikrikin. You don't have the din of sikrikin that if it stays in his hands for 12 months, right? You won't have to go ahead and claim that. Let's see Rashi. Ein boy mishum sikrikin. Guys, a little bit down. In order to give a quarter to the original owner, you get it back you get it back completely. Okay, you get it back completely. So guys, this person you didn't sell the field because you were worried he's going to kill you, right? You never lost sight of this field. So there's no din of sikrikin, and if someone buys the field, if he's foolish enough to buy the field from the guy, then what? Then you'll be able to get it back. Now, Paris, the ganef has to be on it for 12 months. Guys, the din of sikrikin is if he's on there 12 months and you don't open your mouth, then you can buy from the owner from a quarter. You have to give the owner a quarter of the price. Mashma over here, even 12 months makes nothing. So what do you mean? Says the Mahaki coming out. Sikrikin atzma tzricha shetisha yubis gleidish. Sikrikin himself, you have to be there on there for 12 months. Rabbi Yosef, naktinon, again, that lashon that you use all the time in this Masechta, have a Messiah, ain't Paris Bavavel. There's no Gazlanim in Bavel. Fred Gemara Bakaksinan, we see these people stealing all the time fields in Bavel. So what do you mean there's no Gazlanim in Bavel? El Ema ain din Amparis Bavavel, right? There's no Amparis Bavavel, and meaning that again that in Amparis Bavavel is that you can't be mafsid lekeach at all. You can't be mafsid lekeach at all. Ain't Amparis Bavavel. Why not? My timer. Even the ikebe davor. Since there is courts that deal with kaslonim, also right. Kibel v'le'azol kabel v'le'azol kabel ema achuli achla. In other words, there's no din on Paris Bavavel meaning if he stays on the field, he's going to keep it. Right? I'm losing it. Okay, let's do Rashi, guys. 4 lines down where it gets right. Eina paras b'Bavel. Mashma eina Rabbi kechavim oinis karka miyisrael b'Bavel. No guy will steal a field in Bavel, which is not true. Ban paras. Then boy Yisrael v'ira al chaveira. And if Yisrael goes ahead and he's marrying his friend, v'oimer karka zu shalachim and Rabbi kechavim shali haisa. The karka that you bought from a guy is mine, right? Ein in them, he's not believed, right? So what does it mean? Ein din an paras b'Bavel lasud lekeach. Meaning that the one who bought it can keep it, guys. The one who bought it can keep it. Now, why is that? Why, guys, what's the din on paris? The din on paris is if a guy stole it, I'm not scared of him because he's not going to kill me. The sale's not a good sale. But in Bavel, we say it's a good sale. And the answer is there's enough of a legal mechanism in Bavel that for you to go ahead and make a claim to keep that field. There's a court set up. So if this guy stole from you, what should you have done? You should have gone to the dayan and reclaimed it, but you didn't. The fact that you didn't do it, right? You lost, and you sold it, and he sold it. That you're not mafsed l'keach. My timer, keeping the what's the lashon? My timer. What's the reason that there's no din paras and Bavel? The keeping the ikka bei davar. Since it is dayanim with judge v'lei ozil kabel, and he didn't go. He's makabel, and ema achuli ochel. He was what? He was makabel. Okay. Let me give you the next Gemara. It's a little hard. Just set the scene. There was a din that there was a tax on a valley, and depending on the amount of it was, and you paid the amount of the tax. Let's say the tax was $1,000, so the valley paid as a unit $1,000. If a guy had 2 fields, he paid $666, and a guy one field he would pay $333. So depending upon how much you owned, you pay from the tax. What happens if a person, let's say, you have 2 guys, one guy owns 2 fields and one guy owns 1. The guy who owns 1 leaves. The king doesn't come along and says, "Give me $666." He says, "Give me $1,000." Right? So this guy is out $333. So if he could find a person to go ahead and take the other field and pay the tax, that will work well for him. Okay, so the Maisa happened like this. There was a person, Gidel bar Riloi. We met him earlier in the Sechta, in the Sugya of Hashaleach and Bittel Beget. He was happy that he said Baruch HaTov that didn't give the get. Anyway, so what happened was he Kachaya. There was a valley. There were guys in the valley, and there was a guy left. And this field now is the king got the money. And Gidel saw that this is a good field. What can I do? I could sit in the field, and I'll eat the payers, and I'll pay the tax, and it was worth it. So what did he do? He prepaid. He prepaid 3 years. That's what he did. So now, what happens after year 1? Who shows up? Owner of the field. What does he say? He says, "I'll sit in the field, right? I'll sit in my field, and I'll pay tax. And you're out 2 years." So one opinion was that Rav Gidel has a taina, and he can be tarif from the owners. And as we're going to see, that he shouldn't have gone ahead and paid up 2 years, and he mamish just lost his money. And that's the sugya. It says it inside. Gidel bar Iloi kibel ara betaska mibnei baga. He accepted land for the tax from the people of the valley. Akdim v'yov zuzei the tlashnin. He went ahead and he prepaid 3 years. L'soif at the end of a year, Asamar Vasa came along the owners of the field, Kamoi, and Amalei, Shasa Kamaisa the Yavis Achla. The year that you gave, you ate good. Hashta non yavinan and nachilnan. Now I'm going to go ahead. The king is going to double dip. Why? Because he's not going to say, "Oh, you prepaid the money and you're not going to have to collect for 2 years." You have a new owner. Guess what? New owner. What do you got to do? Got to pay, right? So they're reclaiming their field, and now the king is going to be Raviach those 2 years. No refunds. Asla kamed the Rav Papa. Saval lemichted leitirfa. He held to write a star tira for Rav Gidel that he can go ahead and collect 2 years worth of food from whatever he paid the tax on these bnei baga. Only Rav Huna braid the Rav Yeshua Rav Papa in Cain Asasikrikin. The one buying is fully protected since he paid in full 3/4 to Sikrikin and 1/4 to the original owner. That's right. That's the din of Sikrikin. He's fully covered. So you're gonna go ahead and you say this, he's fully covered, that he's, the one who's buying is fully protected, right? He paid in full, 3/4 to the Sekrikin and 1/4 to the owner. So too over here, Gidl is what? Is fully protected. But this is not, the king is not a Sekrikin, it's not a mass. So Elo Amar Rav Huna Bereid Rishua Hiniach Maisal Keren Tzvi. This guy put his what? His Maisal Keren Tzvi, and he's going to go ahead what and lose the money. He's going to lose the money. Okay, go stop over here. Okay, I think this share